Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Michael. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good, Alex. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here, as always, enjoying just all the amazing entrepreneurs and nonprofits that we get to feature on Today y Mañana. We have some more of those coming up today, some awesome guests that we have. Always love being here with you, even though it's a cloudy day. That's all the more reason. It's a cloudy day,
exactly. Like you said, grab your little cafe con leche, sit down, watch or listen to Today Mañana, whichever is more convenient for you at the time.
Exactly. So no excuse not to be listening.
Exactly. There's no excuse. Yeah, you're not outside, having fun. You're at home. We all know it.
Exactly. Big shout out. Thank you to Johnny Ornelas, amigo del programa, for liking and sharing today's show. Thank you, Robert Boland, for watching us this morning. Already got some of our regulars watching the show this morning. So we're going to be joined very shortly today by Lanita Barnes. She is the owner of Fire and Ice Bookshop. Awesome
That's a cool name.
We need to ask about that for sure. As well as later in the show by Michael Monrroy, who is the director of coalitions for the Libre Initiative. Always love being here. Shout out. Love being on the I Love CVille Network set. Always appreciate being presented by Emergent Financial Services, as well as powered by our friends at Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash, at the Gym CVille, Castle Hill Cider, our friends Miguel and Chit at Sirius Craddock Insurance, as well as by Johan Torres at GBS Financial Services, and always partnering with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia.
It's funny. Every time I see you go through the sponsors, I feel like I'm like watching those Fox broadcasts where you used to have like Joe Buck and all this other stuff. How it's like before the commercials got go, this game is presented by this movie come out. And I always feel like I hate being the other guy because I feel like I just got to sit there and listen to you like the spots. What do I do? Like, do I look at the camera? Do I look at you? I'm not exactly sure.
You're the color commentator.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't color commentate the sponsor. It's like,
that's true. That's true. That's a little more difficult, a little more challenging.
Well, there used to be awkward. I don't know if you ever saw, like, every once in a while, like, one of the, like, I guess it would be like a Troy Aikman would try to, like, comment, like, on, like, the movie coming out, and it would just be like, that looks like a good new show coming out on, Fox. It's like, you're working for Fox. Of course you're going to say that. Like, this looks terrible.
It's true. Well, fortunately, you can say that honestly.
Luckily, I can say that I'm really looking forward to talking with these next two guests. So
Absolutely. Just shout out Rosalia Trodaro. Thank you for watching the show this morning, all the way from up in New York. We got viewers up in New York. Jerry Miller, thanks for watching the show this morning in studio with us this morning. Very excited. I don't know about you. I say we get right into it because I am really excited for our first guest today. So we're really happy to welcome to the show this morning LaNika Barnes. She is the owner of Fire and Ice Bookshop right here in Charlottesville. LaNika, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for coming, LaNika.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
We are too.
So we're happy to have you on. So for those who don't know about you, tell us a little bit about how you started Fire and Ice Bookshop.
So Fire and Ice Bookshop has been a dream of mine since I can remember. I've always been a book kid. I got that, I think, from just my family. We've always been encouraged to read. Some of my first gifts were books. So I still have those, like, the little board books that people give you when you're young. So Fire and Ice has always been a dream of mine to open a bookshop. And I always have just understood, growing up, that literacy and being able to have access to histories and stories and adventures, and just reading itself is just a necessity, as well as a great escape from everyday life. We have lots of stressors, and we can. The great thing about bookshops like Fire and Ice is that you can learn as well as have fun. So I'm also a school teacher, so I tell my students, whenever you can find funcational activities, go for it. So Fire and Ice is just like just a passion of mine. So I've always wanted to be like the old lady that owns like the little corner bookshop in a brown shop, right, with the dusty couches. I have a cat allergy, so I wouldn't be able to have a cat, but I could still have like tea and all that cool stuff. So, like I said, it's always just been a dream of mine to open a bookshop.
That's wonderful. You know, when you were talking about your parents, like I remember our mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we used to go to like a little summer house, right? We had like a little pool. All we cared about when we were little was going into the pool. But my mother said, no, you have to sit down and read for an hour before you can go in the pool, before you can play games. And when I was little, that felt like the longest hour ever. It's like you'd be reading for 20 minutes, like, is it an hour yet? Like, no, it's only 20 minutes. No, it's impossible. But you know what? I'm so appreciative. Yeah.
Right.
Because I was able to read a lot of books. You know, like our mother used to get these things called the Great Illustrated Classics.
I love those.
Yes,
I
you
still
remember
have
those?
some. Yes.
Yes, we still have all of ours because it was great because you were reading these like classic books that you probably like when in reality you actually found out that they were like like 600 pages long. As a 10-year-old, you're never going to read a 600-page book, but they were great because they condensed the book, had these pictures where you kept kind of like paying little bit, like the Count of Monte Cristo, right? Like it's like 1,000-page book. Yes. But when you read it in the Great Illustrated Classic, it was so nice because you get the little picture and then you're like, okay, I'll read more. Ooh, you know. I remember there was one like they had like the collection of I think it was Edgar Allan Poe's, and I used to remember like the little picture. Remember the man with the giant eyeball? Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, but I mean, it's just like. When you said that, I was like, oh man, I remember doing that, and I think it's so great to kind of push this younger generation into reading more books.
Exactly.
Because I think that's important in this age of internet and social media and video games.
Yeah.
We're kind of losing a little bit of that speciality when you just kind of sit down, you quiet your life, and you just read a book.
Right. Exactly. And I think a lot of younger people who don't get the same experience, where you sit down and actually take this object in your hand and manipulate it and look at the cover and look at the back and read about the author and just start to create things before you even create or before you even crack the book open. It's just so important. And when we can encourage them to go back to that, it opens up a new world for them to then take that information to the internet and begin creating again. So
absolutely, absolutely,
exactly. Sure. Yeah. So I did have a question. Alex and I were basically when it said Fire and Ice Bookshop. Where did you get that name from? Because it's so enticing. It really is.
As a fantasy lover,
exactly.
There you go. So when I thought about Fire and Ice, so first it kind of describes my personality. I think it describes like all of our personalities. We're not the same all the time. Sometimes we're on fire for something, and then sometimes we just want to chill out. We just want to, just cool off to everything that's going around us. And so Fire and Ice, I think, first I wanted to make sure my bookshop was personal. And so to me, that's something personal. It represents people. It represents community. Next, I am also a sci-fi fantasy lover. So I love everything sci-fi. I will definitely check it out. And everything fantasy, I will definitely check out. I can't wait for, I don't know if I'm supposed to shout out new TV shows or anything. The Game of Thrones prequels, I am so excited to see those. And I love Octavia Butler, and who wrote the Parables and so many other great books. Wonderful. She's kind of considered like the mother of African American science fiction and fantasy.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
And I love Lovecraft Country. I love The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yes.
Yes. And so the imagery of Fire and Ice just makes me happy. And then also I saw a quote by a philanthropist from India, and basically her quote just reminds us that fire and ice can exist together. So why can't we as humankind learn how to exist together, even though we are feel like we're on opposing sides? That's what makes our world beautiful. So Fire and Ice hopefully will continue to grow and be able to demonstrate to people that we can, even though we have different opinions, we have different races, ethnicities, genders. You may drive a red car, I drive a white car.
Yeah, we can still
coexist. And one of the ways that we can coexist is by reading and learning about one another, and sitting down and having those conversations. So Fire and Ice, to answer your question, there is like a plethora. I love to just sit and think about things, and so that's how the name came about.
Wow.
Awesome.
I'm glad I asked the question. You know?
That's fantastic.
That was a great answer, because if it was me, I would have been like, I just picked the name.
And that's okay too. If you like it.
But yeah, just love
it. Yep.
Like good literature, there's
There's a
different
story
layers
behind
of
it,
meaning
Exactly.
to a name or a title. Absolutely. So I did want to ask about this for those who go to fireicebookshop.com.
Yes.
There's an awesome option on the site, right there in the middle, called Your Lit Experience.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about how that works? Because I've never seen it in a bookshop, even in online shopping before. Tell us a little bit about Your Lit Experience on the site.
Wonderful. So I am, I as an adult have been diagnosed with adult ADHD. And I start off that way because I love bookstores. But I often feel so overwhelmed, like when I go into like a big box bookstore or even like an online bookstore. You have to know exactly the title or the ISBN number or you have to be able to focus and like click on exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, what other experiences have I been a part of where I can just go in, I get a menu, and my menu is just like organized in where I could just kind of check the box off, and I can get exactly what I want. So I thought about, hey, what about my favorite chicken wing spots? I'm a pescatarian, so I eat cauliflower wings. But I was like, well, how can I take that? How can I be inspired by a restaurant's menu and create a menu for those that love to read? Or Fire and Ice is also designed for people who have lost their love for reading for one reason or another. How can I, as a business owner and a lit community member, make it easier for them to access the information? So what I decided, I was sitting one day and I was like, why can't I create a book literacy or a literary menu? And so I was like, so the first thing you do when you sit down at a restaurant, you know you're hungry. So you want to know, for example, how big of a portion you want, for example, from the menu. So I was like, well, I can do the same thing. So if I just want a short book, I'm kind of cool to reading. If I want something that's kind of in the middle, I have a little bit more time, and but I don't have a whole lot of time to read like a 500-page novel. I'm kind of warm to reading. So I was like, okay, warm sounds great. And then I was like, well, if I'm on fire for reading, or I want to challenge myself and read this big, long book, or I'm going on vacation, shout out to Puerto Rico. I had the experience to go there, and I got to read a lot of great books. So I knew I needed to pick something from the Fire collection. So that's how I thought about Fire and Ice. So that's how I kind of came up with the cool Fire and warm lit. So then I was like, okay, so now that I know how many pages I want to read, how much time I have, now I also need to kind of figure out what genres of books I like. So that's kind of how the menu came about, just making it easier. And then people can, once you take that little quiz, I'm hoping to develop like a digitized version where people could just click on things. Once you figure out what you want, you can just click on shop, and then you can just click on the cool, warm, or fire, and it'll take you directly to those menu options. And then we eat with our eyes first. If you see a book cover you like, you click on the book, and then it gives you all the other information that you would normally be kind of bombarded with at a bookstore. Yep. So that's kind of how the menu works, and I offer one-on-one conversations about books, and so I also help people kind of work through it, just like a wonderful server at your favorite restaurant.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's a very cool feature. Yeah.
Of a local bookshop like yours,
Yes.
because it's true. You go to like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, right? You type in there, and it's bombarded. I mean, you type fantasy, and you'll get a gazillion books. You have no idea which one's really to your liking, which ones are actually good, especially, and there'll be ones at the top that like sponsored. They just paid to be at the top. They might not actually even be any good.
Exactly.
So to have that community bookshop where you can go in, you can fill this out, talk to you, and be like, all right, I really like this, but not this kind of fantasy, but not that. And know in your mind, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know something that you would probably enjoy. And it's a great way to experience new books, because it's true, so much of online shopping, you have to know exactly. If you don't know the title of the book you want,
Right.
you're going to be bombarded with too
Right.
much information.
Right.
But if you be able to sort of draw on your experience, your love of books, I can walk in and say, I don't know what I'm looking for. I want something new
Right.
that I've never read before.
Right.
What would you recommend based on these types of books that I have liked and this type of, this flavor, this portion
Exactly.
size, like the menu says?
And the great thing is, I never stock anything I don't read. So everything all the titles that are curated on my shelf, I've read before. So we can definitely, like you said, have those honest conversations and try to figure out something that'll work for you.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
We have an audience comment for you. First off, thank you, Lucrecia Morales, for watching the show this morning. Thank you, Kevin Higgins, for watching the door. He says, birthday cards and books, 2 things the internet will never replace. He says, a genuine person like LaNika is so rare. What a special person to have on your show today.
No.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me.
It definitely comes through your
Yes.
passion
Yes, it definitely does.
for what you do.
Yes.
So, we always like to sometimes talk a little entrepreneurship question, and you are in the CIC workshop
Yes.
program. So we love what Community Investment Collaborative does, and so I'm just curious what that experience has been like for you in terms of sort of going through a program to really come out and sort of work on this amazing idea that you've had.
Yes, I am so thankful that I had the opportunity to go through the 16-week workshop with CIC. Not only did I get to meet with some great people, not just my cohort, but everyone who graduated and participated in the workshop. But one of the things that I can definitely say that I am still reaping the benefits from CIC is networking. Networking, skill building. I am a school teacher. Like a school teacher by day, bookshop owner by night during the school year. And so being able to balance those two things that I love to do, CIC definitely helped give me that push to believe in myself, and also the tools and the resources to move forward with my business. I've been open since July of 2021. So I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Which is wonderful.
Here, I think we have the clap. There we go.
Yes. So love the extended clap.
There you
go. So going through this process with CIC, I'm learning about basics like bookkeeping. Social media is definitely something that I utilize. But going through CIC, it's really helped me to learn how to utilize it as a entrepreneur. So there's very different, usage for that. And like I said, the relationships and the entrepreneurship and business knowledge that I gained just has been invaluable. I'm getting ready to start working with a mentor who asked to be my mentor when I applied, which is very rare, with other organizations. Sometimes they just put you with someone, but CIC and Shannon and Juana and all those wonderful people, they actually take the time to look at your business and you as a person and as a professional to provide you with the resources that fit the needs of your business. So I can't thank CIC enough. I can't wait to give back as an entrepreneur to the next groups of small business owners and local business owners that have this same opportunity to participate in CIC. So big shout out to CIC and all that they do for the community.
And to you for going through that, big shout, because it's a lot of work. It's not just I show up on Tuesday night and knowledge enters my head through osmosis.
Homework. Yes, we definitely had homework.
Exactly. There's homework. I know they make you guys go up there and do a little pitch.
Yes.
So to have the courage to sort of be like, all right, I can go do this. I can talk about my business. I've learned, and now I can go in front of other people and say, this is what I do, this is my passion.
Right.
So it's a lot of work that you put in, and I'm glad that you're reaping the fruits of it, and we all get to reap some of the fruits from it.
Thank you so much. Yes, and I'll continue to reap the benefits. So I actually did my pitch twice. So I'm glad you mentioned it. Like, I was like, okay, the first one was okay. The second one, I felt a little bit more comfortable, and having that space and that time, that safe space to do that was wonderful.
And now look at you, you're a master of it now.
Thank you.
So definitely, before we let you go, always want to ask, where can people find you, both physically or online?
So right now, Fire and Ice Bookshop is totally online, with the exception of pop-ups. I will be at X Park this weekend for the Soul Fest, so I'm excited about that. So if anybody can come out, please come out and support Soul Fest. You can find me at www.fireicebookshop.com. And once you go to my website, I also have my telephone number there. So if you want to call me, if you want to text me, I have Facebook, I have Twitter, I have Instagram. So you can find me, Fire and Ice Bookshop there. And hopefully, with the support of great organizations and networking like CIC, you will soon see a Fire and Ice Jeep.
Nice.
Intent. I want to take Fire and Ice on the road, and I also love the outdoors. So I have a tent, and I'm gonna get a carpet, and I love to just set out like a vibe. Bring the lit community. Bring Fire and Ice to our lit community. So, but until then, you can definitely find me online.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
You'll be like a traveling bookshop.
Yeah, I think I used to see that they used to have stuff like that, I think, in England in like the 50s and 60s. Yes, they used to have like a little, mobile library.
Yes, I love that. And ultimately, I would love to have like a caravan of like VW buses and Jeep Wranglers, going out, all over the place to spread our love for literacy and reading for everybody. Don't forget, if you're listening, if you're, 80 years old and you fell in love with children's books 75 years ago, there's nothing wrong with reading children's books. If you're 10 years old and you want to pick up The Count of Monte Cristo, the original version, and it takes you 2 years to read it, that's okay.
That's okay.
Just invest in yourself, invest in your time, your curiosity, and your adventures, and that's what Fire and Ice is all about.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Yes.
Lanita, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
This has
coming
been
on.
absolutely fantastic.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to, I'm definitely going to go fill out that menu
Yes.
and see what pops up.
Beautiful.
And see what pops up. But then your passion just comes through, and
Thank
it's so
you.
wonderful.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
No,
Thank you for
absolutely.
coming
Thanks
on.
for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, it's amazing. I
That
love
was
just
great, yeah.
one of my favorite things
Yeah.
about this show is just
And especially what LaNika's doing with books, that's important in this generation of children growing up, because I think, we've seen it a little more sometimes, like kids are kind of living in such a digital age now where everything is on their iPads, on their tablets, video games, reading on the internet. I think it'd be really good for them to kind of get back involved with books, quiet down your life, get off the internet, find a quiet space, and just read, and use their imagination more, because that's the thing about books, right? Like with everything, like when video games, and even though we're big movie people, right? Movies really don't leave much imagination. It's someone else's imagination projected on a screen, right? Because
Books,
it's their
it's all
interpretation.
you.
Books is all you, right? Like we were watching Lord of the Rings last night, right? You watch Lord of the Rings, we love the interpretation, right? But that's sort of like from the mind of Peter Jackson and all these other people involved. But if you read Lord of the Rings, your mind projects differently.
Aragorn might look completely different.
Exactly.
Boromir might look completely different.
When it comes to like the Balrog and all this other things, like you're imagining it very differently than how it's portrayed on screen. So I think that's important to use those little brain muscles.
Absolutely. And a
from
couple of
reading.
comments. Xavier Urpí says, in reference to CIC homework, that's what all entrepreneurs do after work hours. Great guest. Miss being there. So we miss you too, Xavier. And Rosalia Tardado says, it's so nice to see a person who is really in love with her job. Good luck. So it is. It's just it's one of our favorite things at Today Mañana that we get to experience, is the passion that entrepreneurs and nonprofits and people we have on really love what they do. Another person that I can tell just from talking before the show really loves what they do. We are excited to welcome to the show today Michael Monrroy. He is the Director of Coalitions for the Libre Initiative. Michael, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hey, thanks so much for the invitation. It's great to be in Charlottesville and on your program.
No, it's
Thank you
great,
so much,
great to
Michael.
have you here. We appreciate you having come down from Northern Virginia to visit with us.
No worries.
Absolutely. So for those who aren't familiar with it, tell us a little bit about the Libre Initiative and how you came to be connected.
Yeah, so the Libre Initiative is a national, nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots organization that's focused on empowering the Hispanic community to reach its American dream. So we have state chapters all across the country, Virginia obviously being one of them. Nearby, just to mention a few, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas,
Fantastic.
Arizona, Colorado. We're in quite a number of states doing great work all year round, working with the Hispanic community to inform them, to activate them, to make sure that they're a part of the conversation in their states at the national level.
That's awesome.
Wow, yeah, that's
I didn't
I
realize
realized how
reach
many
is so
states.
big.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And what in particular, what is your job with the Libre Institute?
So the Libre Initiative. So
The
I'm the
Libre
director of coalitions for Libre Virginia. So essentially, I kind of serve as the grassroots strategy leader for our initiatives, working with community leaders. I do a lot of government relations in Richmond and Washington. I kind of serve as our spokesperson. Make a number of appearances on radio, TV, in DC, and different forums. I speak at different events. I maintain relationships with a lot of key players to make sure that we're connected on the ground and make sure that, like I mentioned, everyone's a part of the conversation.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. So, I know thank you. I mean, it's awesome that you operate in so many different states and throughout Virginia. And so, what would you say are some key things? I know a lot of we were lucky enough to have Joshua from the Libre Institute come and join us, and he talked a lot about the way that you guys focus a lot on the way the free market works, educating people on the economy, and he talked with us about inflation a little bit. But what are some things, important information that you think Hispanics, Latinos, it's important to know about and talk about in sort of in our Hispanic community from an economic perspective, from what Libre is connected with?
Yeah. I'll start off by saying, a lot of Hispanics are immigrants to this country. Myself, I am the son of immigrants.
Same here.
My dad is from Bolivia. My mom is from Colombia, born and raised in Virginia. But the immigrant experience is interesting. A lot of folks come to this country for many different reasons, but one of the main driving factors is economic reasons. Sometimes their country gets governed in a bad way, right? Let's just say that. The economy goes
Our
under.
father is Cuban, so
Yeah,
we know
sure.
what happens when it's governed a bad way.
Inflation in their countries, their currency goes down, there's no jobs, so they seek better opportunities for themselves and for their families, so they come to this country. So a lot of immigrants, when they arrive to this country, don't know of all the great opportunities to get involved, or more so, they're not connected to what the issues are or how they can play a part in that. But as you mentioned, economic issues are a huge driving factor for people coming to this country and then finding their American dream, prospering in this country, whether it's starting their small business or other ways. So one of the number one issues right now across the country, especially in the Commonwealth, is inflation for bad reasons. Obviously, inflation is the increased price of everything in the grocery store, gasoline, housing, what have you. Everything, it seems, it's going up and up and up. And for the Latino community, they're very hard hit by this.
Absolutely.
We've had lots of events in the community in different parts of the state. And a lot of folks are going in debt. They're going into credit card debt. They're purchasing less than they were before. Maybe they're eating less meat or no meat. It's a really sad situation right now happening, with grocery and then gasoline and et cetera. So we've been talking about some of the driving factors behind that. Connecting the community to the why and the how. What can we do to change the ship, right? How can we fix this situation of inflation so we can get back to an economy that's growing, low, at normal prices, right?
Exactly.
That we can all make an actual living by consuming and selling, et cetera, et cetera. So inflation is the top issue right now economically, but we also talk about taxes, spending, regulations. we all know when there's burdensome regulations, it's kind of hard to start a business or a bookstore or things like that. So we want to make it easier.
Latinos experience a lot because, Latinos start businesses at about 3 times the rate of native-born Americans. So when there are high taxes on small business or a lot of regulatory red tape on small businesses, that impacts Latinos in such a huge way. And it's one of the key things we always talk about is to know, like, America works differently than maybe some of the places, like in Cuba or Venezuela. If you've got high regulations on your business that make it almost impossible to have a business there, there's no one to talk to. Like, you're not going to go and call up Raul Castro and be like, hey, can you take off some of these regulations on my business? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, right.
But in the United States, there are ways for Latinos to sort of advocate, get involved, because those things can change. Like, taxes don't have to be high on small business. Regulations don't have to have tons of red tape on small business. And to know that in America, you can actually have a voice in that way.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, laws get created at the local, state, and national level. And average people run for office in this country. Sometimes they have good ideas. Sometimes they have some bad ideas, mix up some good ideas. But if more good folks get in office or vote for better folks that can produce good policy that creates prosperity for everyone, that's a plus. Unlike sometimes the home country where you were mentioning, there's lots of regulations, but a little bit of bribes here and there can get them. That's not the America that we live in, and we don't want to get to that point.
Exactly.
So obviously we want to make sure that it's a good environment for everyone so they can achieve their American dream.
And would you say that in 2022, would you say it's easier or more difficult for someone, or especially Latinos, to open up a business this year versus, would you say, past other years, based on your experience?
Yeah, I mean, with inflation, housing prices, the cost of every product going up, I would say it's a lot harder. Unfortunately, it's a lot harder than it was in the past because the money that they would have saved up to start that business is being consumed by the daily expenses to maintain their family and things of that nature. So we have a lot of work to do, not only on that side, but on the regulation front and other areas that affects the economy and affects Latinos in Virginia and across the country.
And what would you recommend if, let's say, someone came to you and said, I want to start a business, but I'm worried about the expenses? What would your advice be to them? Like, should they try to go ahead and start it anyway, or should they wait? Like, what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the expert on starting small businesses, but I would connect them with friends that we have. We're very close with the Virginia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, their offices, other folks that have been involved with our workshops, our communities that could give good advice from firsthand experience. I think those are the best people to be able to advise them, right? How to take that idea, create that business, and start creating those jobs for their communities.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to Philip Dow, Mahmoud Hassan, John Blair, thanks for watching this morning. James Watson, thank you for watching the show this morning. So I wanted to ask, I mean, if it's okay if I can do a little question in Spanish, just something bilingual for our Latino audience here. ¿Cuáles son unas de las maneras en que latinos se pueden conectarse con the Libre Initiative, conectarse con los recursos, las oportunidades de aprender más sobre la economía, la inflación, etcétera?
Claro, buena pregunta. Bueno, primero pueden visitar a nuestra página en Facebook y en Twitter. En Facebook pueden buscar The Libre Initiative Virginia. Y ahí publicamos todos nuestros eventos, nuestras actividades, fotos, publicamos artículos sobre todo lo que está haciendo Libre, pero más importante los eventos, como mencionaste, donde pueden conocer a nuestro equipo y a otros líderes en la comunidad para que se puedan involucrar más. En Twitter nos pueden seguir @LibreVirginia. Síganos en Twitter, danos retweets, likes. Siempre estamos compartiendo buenas cosas que está pasando en Virginia y a nivel nacional. Y finalmente tenemos nuestra página web de nuestra organización a nivel nacional, libreinitiative.com. Entran a libreinitiative.com, se pueden contactar con también nuestro equipo nacional y también tenemos maneras que pueden tomar acción si están en acuerdo con nuestra opinión sobre estos temas de la economía y otros temas que podemos conversar en estos momentos. Hay peticiones. Si lo firman, mandan una carta a sus legisladores en Washington o cosas así, maneras de tomar acción, que es bien efectivo, organizar en una manera digital para la comunidad.
Claro que sí, porque los latinos somos un grupo muy grande en términos de de nuestro impacto en la economía, en términos de nuestro impacto político para cambiar cosas en Washington, pero también en el estado y también localmente. Entonces, Xavier says, inflation is a huge tax, and Xavier, repeat that too for watching. Inflation is a huge tax for entrepreneurs and small businesses. So very true, very true. He also jokes, actually, you can call Raul in Cuba, but his response to your request may turn into a room with bars. So he might answer, but it might not be the answer that you like. So wanted to ask, so what are some of the ways that the Libre Initiative goes out and connects with the community? Are there events commonly? Are there places where the Libre Initiative will show up and sort of go into the community and talk to people? How do Hispanic listeners or listeners in Charlottesville what are the ways that people will commonly interact with the Libre Initiative, or that you guys will reach out to the community?
Yeah, great question. So, we organize around different policy issues. Like we already talked about the economy, inflation. We've had some really good events on that. We've created events around education, around healthcare, criminal justice reform, immigration. But depending on what the issue is or where we are in the Commonwealth, we'll organize town halls, community events with different business leaders to give their stories, or community leaders of the faith background, or teachers or doctors. For example, back in May, we launched the first event of the True Cost of Washington National Tour related to inflation. So we talked about how Hispanics are the number one small business creators, and we hosted an event at I think is the largest Hispanic supermarket chain in Northern Virginia. In Woodbridge, Virginia, a supermarket called Todos Supermarket. We hosted a very big event to talk about inflation. We handed out gift cards to shop at the grocery store for the sum of what's worth 2 days worth of inflation. Let's just say that. We cover the groceries for folks for the weekend. We'll say that because based off our numbers or studies, the average family is paying in upwards of over $400 more per month for groceries. So if you divide 400 divided by 30, that 2 days worth of, we were giving out gift cards, but we had some really good speakers talking about this issue. We had over 100 people turn out. We had Univision, Telemundo, different radio stations cover the event, and it's a huge issue. But we've also hosted events with local elected officials, statewide elected officials, both from the Republican and the Democrat side, because again, we're nonpartisan, and we think it's good to have civil conversations, right, from both sides of the aisle, and try to find common sense solutions to a lot of the issues facing not only the Latino community, but all Virginians. So we're doing this type of stuff all year round, but we're talking about with folks from all different walks of life, people that have never been involved in the political process, and then people that have obviously been. We want to get as many people plugged in so they can, influence what's happening out there.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. You wait for me to ask a question?
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure if you had
Okay.
Yeah, you
so
can go for it.
what would you say your top priorities are for 2022? If you had to kind of list a goal, like 1, goal 2, goal 3.
Yeah, so we want to create change on the inflation issue, number one. But I also didn't mention that during the pandemic, education, and it still is a huge issue. Everyone's lives, every family life was completely interrupted during the pandemic, right? Kids were forced to study from home, virtual education, and that worked out for some folks. For other folks, it worked out terribly. And for parents that work 2 jobs, especially in the Latino community, we work in a hospitality industry, construction industry, not the type of jobs that you can sit behind your table at home with your MacBook and your coffee, right?
No, exactly.
So the kids from those families suffered even more, if we can imagine it right now. So we want to champion more policies that empowers parents and teachers. We want to be able to offer parents the ability to choose the type of educational opportunities that best works for their children, whether that's virtual, whether that's from home, or whether that's hybrid. Virginia doesn't really have much educational opportunities than other states, for instance. So that's a conversation that we're trying to advance, especially within the Latino community that's been so affected by that issue. So we want to see some change there. Healthcare is another really big issue. Telehealth was a huge thing during the pandemic. Everybody could
Taking
avoid being
their doctor
exposed,
on, yep.
right? Taking out their phone, their iPad, and talking with their doctor. That was a great achievement, but we helped to break a lot of barriers leading up to the pandemic and post-pandemic, so folks are able to do that, or even talk with a doctor in a different state that perhaps speaks Spanish. That's a huge thing for the Latino community.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of laws right now on the books that doesn't allow you to speak with a doctor in Texas, for instance. So we're still trying to advance some things at the state level and at the federal level on that topic. And then immigration is another really important issue. I mean, as mentioned, a lot of folks from our community are immigrants. There's a lot of dreamers that live in our community. The kids that are beneficiaries of the DACA program that were brought here as kids, no fault of their own, but today are contributing great things to the community. They're firefighters, police officers, teachers, nurses, but their lives are in limbo, uncertainty, court case to court case, executive orders, this or that. We need a permanent legislative solution to bring them certainty so that they can fully contribute in Charlottesville and elsewhere around the Commonwealth. So we're doing a lot of events on all these issues.
All these different ones.
Educating, informing, and if folks if they're activated, if they like what we're saying, we give them the opportunities to get involved on these issues, right? Organize petitions, make phone calls, knock on doors, visit legislative offices in Richmond and Washington, and be the change, right? That's how it starts.
Exactly, yeah. I want to just encourage Latinos. I think that sometimes there's sort of I think there has been in the past a mentality, but Latinos have to think this way, they have to vote this way, because that's what they just do. And sort of the opportunity to say, well, no. I mean, if you're a Latino who is really into charter schools, or you're a Latino who really is into, cutting some of that regulation, cutting some of those taxes, working with local community, you can go out there and advocate for yourself. You don't have to sit there and say, well, that's what the other Latinos do, and I'll just, stay home because it's not my place. Like, diversity of thought among Latinos is just such a huge factor, because many Latinos, I mean, we often get lumped together, but we come from so many different countries, right? And so many different backgrounds. It's such an amazing world that Latinos come from, and so be able to go out there and say, yeah, this is what I believe in, and Libre Initiative will help me sort of go out and speak for myself and my family on these issues that are important to me.
Yeah, I mean, diversity of thought is something worth celebrating. No matter where you come from, what country of origin, just because you're Hispanic, we can have diverse opinions, right? And get involved in the political process in a peaceful way. Maybe something that we're not accustomed to from some of our home countries. Libre Initiative is a freedom-minded organization, but we're nonpartisan. We happily work with both sides of the aisle, and we have a track record of doing that. But we have a philosophy that limited government equals unlimited opportunities. So that's something that we really talk about with the community, and a lot of folks are hearing these type of ideas for the first time, right? And it's a beautiful thing, and especially when they get excited and they get their kids involved, and then their kids become leaders within an organization, and they go on to do some amazing things. It's just beautiful to work with so many different parts of the Hispanic community in our diverse Commonwealth.
Absolutely,
and be able to be a part of that.
Especially because I think freedom is a key part of the Latino experience. I mean, I would say most Latinos that immigrate to the United States, right, in some way, shape, or form, my dad's family, they're looking for freedom. Like, their freedom either from oppressive regimes, sometimes freedom from poorly managed economies that, where the state has controlled so much that inflation is rampant and you can't start your own business. I mean, in Cuba, you're not able. You don't have the opportunity, the economic freedom there. Sometimes you don't have political freedom. You're here in exile. So I think that dream that Latinos have, that sort of, I think, what unites us despite all the different countries we come from, is that dream of America is a place where I can come and be free. And I love the idea of sort of teaching what that means. Like, there's a level of freedom here that many Latinos may not even realize they have, because it's so much more expansive than the freedoms we were used to, where we came from.
Yeah, and I also want to mention, we are in Charlottesville, right? Thomas Jefferson is big in this town, I've heard. Monticello, University of Virginia, a lot of the founding fathers are from Virginia, so it's a really cool place to be in this country, right? To be around where the founding fathers were, be inspired by their surroundings, learn about what their ideas were, right, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, the
Absolutely.
Constitution, something that a lot of immigrants learn briefly about when they're taking their citizenship test, but it's something to really learn a little bit more about, because it's really something, documents that inspired other countries, right, around the world.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know that actually, like, Thomas Jefferson was completely beloved in Latin America. He was Simón Bolívar was a huge fan. Yeah. Thomas Jefferson even sent, I think he sent his nephew to the University of Virginia. Like, the first Latino student in UVA wasn't in the 1900s. It was like the 1800s that Simón Bolívar was like, I love Thomas Jefferson. I am sending my nephew to go to the University of Virginia.
Well, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's all. I mean, you think about just those 3 words. Well, I mean, it's not 3 words, but life, liberty, pursuit. Yeah. 3 phrases. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That's all you want in life, and sometimes it's all you need. You know, and a lot of Latinos know that, especially like you're talking about in the experiences of background, they didn't get that opportunity. You know, like their liberty, the pursuit of happiness was controlled or limited. And then when they get here, it's suddenly like, this is what you've always dreamed of. And that's the American dream, as we were talking about. You know?
Absolutely. And Philip Dowell, thanks for watching the show today. He says, I so admire Michael's comments and what he is doing in the community. CVille, Charlottesville needs more people like him. So we're really glad that the Libre Initiative is working in Charlottesville as well.
Yeah, no, any opportunity to get connected to what's happening in Charlottesville or anywhere else, you know, reach out to our team. I already mentioned where to visit us, our website, our social media pages. Connect with us. Let us know what's happening, what issues may be happening locally or statewide, and every big event or big movement gets sparked by an idea. So
absolutely. So remind us one more time for the English-speaking listeners, where can people find you? What are the websites and Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, so go to our Facebook, search the Libre Initiative Virginia. That's our state Facebook page. We post articles, pictures, events all the time. So great place to follow us, give us likes, share, let us reach more people. We're also on Twitter at Libre Virginia. Follow us there, retweet us, like us, help us spread the word there as well. And then you can visit our national website, thelibreinitiative.com, where we have an action center where you can find different petitions and contact your official letters, so you can take action on different issues and really be make an impact and drive some change in Washington or in Richmond.
Fantastic. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much
this morning.
for coming.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
That's some great work that Libre Initiative is doing.
No, definitely appreciate the work. Like we always talk about, what for Adelante, networking group has been sort of promoting for years, is that what Latinos want is to be involved, to showcase what we can do, to get the hand up, not the hand out.
Exactly.
In essence, as Olga Morse, founder for Adelante, used to say. And speaking of that, do want to encourage people, as we are having for Adelante, in-person events are back. We are back.
It's been a while now,
It's been a little while, but we can now have all our Latino Connect again. So we're going to be having our Forward Adelante Connect Latino 2022 is going to be August 31st at Castle Hill Cider at 5:30. So it is free. Like the event, there's no cost to attend the event. You'll be able to get your own. You'll be able to buy your own drinks there. They're going to have some specials for us at Castle Hill. The food is free, so you can definitely check that out. You can find it on Facebook. If you go to the Forward Adelante page, you'll be able to find the event there. You can also go to eventbrite.com and search for Connect Latino 2022, and you will find it. Very easy to register. Again, Wednesday, August 31st from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Head out to Castle Hill Cider, beautiful spot.
It's beautiful,
especially in the summer.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful spot and a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, already, if you're telling people to go out to Keswick and go to Castle Hill, I feel like that's already enough of a push.
Exactly.
But now you get to a little networking event,
Some networking.
you get to connect with other people. I mean, that's a win-win.
Exactly. So really
drink a little
encourage
delicious
people.
cider. I mean,
How can you go wrong? How can you go wrong?
Yes.
Free food. Free
Free
appetizers.
food. Wow, yeah.
We're providing the appetizers. We're providing the space thanks to Castle Hill. And all you got to do is show up and network. And
That's
be
the
ready
easiest part, just showing up.
It's the easiest part.
That's the
The easiest part. So definitely encourage everyone to check that out. Again, you can find it on Eventbrite. You can also find it on the Forward Adelante Facebook page. Go for Forward Adelante events and search in Eventbrite Connect Latino 2022. Hard to miss. It'll have the FABA logo and the Today y Mañana logo right there. That we're doing this in partnership. Thank you, Miguel Torradin, good friend, Serious Credit Insurance, for watching today. Definitely appreciate it.
A lot of people watching today.
Had a
That's
lot.
great. That's
Love the
good.
audience engagement.
Yeah.
Really appreciate. Thank you, Kevin Higgins, for your comment. Thank you, Philip, for commenting. Just really appreciate just the involvement. Xavier says, "Great show, guys. You went from the Libre Initiative to the Libre Initiative. Is Libro meaning book in Spanish?
Yeah.
It's a little play on word there,
Play on
Xavier.
words.
Well done.
Obviously, it sounds like he's got time
Well
on his
done.
hands to
Well
come
done.
up with these puns.
Well
That
done.
probably took him like 15 minutes to come up with that.
Poor Jay, he's a witty man. He's a clever man. He's good with his Spanish, we should say.
Yeah.
As expected. Nigel, thanks so much for
Thank you.
for hosting with me today.
Thank you for having me, Alex. It was a good show. I think.
I really enjoyed it. Great questions. Really appreciate them.
Yeah.
Just always love hanging out with you.
Yeah, no,
For an
it's always a
hour.
fun time. It's
For
fun,
an hour
a fun
today,
time,
yeah.
informative time. It was good to see the two different ways that, LaNika's helping the community here. At the same time, Michael and the Libre Initiative's helping the community, not just in Charlottesville, but not even just in Virginia, across the country. I mean,
across everywhere.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And it's
is.
great work.
It is. It's fantastic. And so some more fantastic guests next week. Bait on the James is going to be joining us on the show. And then in a few weeks, we're going to have both Rivanna Trail as well as Josephine from Castle Hill is going to join us to hopefully talk a little bit about some of the exciting things you can see if you come on the 31st to the event.
Is that before the event or
It's
after?
before the event.
Before the
So
event.
you can be sure to
So
check
maybe we
that
get like
out.
a sneak peek or something?
Maybe a little
I don't
sneak
know.
preview of the things you can enjoy by coming to the Forward Adelante Connect Latino 2022 event in partnership with Today y Mañana. So a couple of things to look forward to in the next few weeks that we're going to be talking
Exciting.
about. So a lot going on with Today y Mañana, a lot going on with Forward Adelante. Just always appreciate the audience just participating.
It doesn't
Continue-
work without the audience.
It doesn't. Continue to connect with us. Send us, entrepreneurs, small businesses, people making waves in the community, and we're happy to feature them on the show and really highlight them. So just definitely appreciate it. Love being here on the I Love CVille Network set with you.
No, I love
As
being here with
always.
you, Alex.
Really appreciate Emergent Financial Services for presenting, as well as GBS Financial Services, Serious Craddock Insurance, Castle Hill Cider, the Jim CVille at Aqua CVille for partnering with us. And of course, always love being with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you all so much for watching
Thank
today.
you. I love CVille.
Thank you,
Jerry,
Judah behind the camera.
always. And then my favorite, Liza, who's in the background.
Our Liza's definitely, our Xavier says more than 15 minutes to come up with that.
Oh, more than 15 minutes. Okay.
Liza, definitely our mascot, helping us all feel good, welcoming us every morning to the I Love CVille Network set. Thank you all for just commenting, being connected with us. Send us people your way. Look forward to hearing about all the entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the community. Look forward to seeing you all next Thursday, and we'll have some more fantastic guests lined up for you. But until that time, as we always love to say here on Today y Mañana,
Hasta
hasta
mañana.
mañana.